This is the show where we talk about all things pop culture and what we're into right now. I'm Josh.
I'm AJ.
And AJ, it's an interesting time to be a nerd because I remember being a kid, and I remember a few times I've played Star Wars or Marvel stuff at recess, and the kids were like, "What a loser! You're a nerd!" And now it's like multi-billion dollars being thrown into all these properties,
Right.
and there's pros and cons to that. You know, there's different levels of quality to the things that we're getting. Did you hear the latest from the Lord of the Rings properties?
So I saw on Twitter that Warner Brothers, I think, did they purchase the rest of the movie rights to Lord of the Rings? Is that what it was?
So it's this weird thing where like Amazon and Warner Brothers / New Line Cinema basically like have split rights to the Lord of the Rings properties.
Okay.
And it's a lot of the same stuff from my understanding. I haven't looked, I don't know what the fine legal print is, but I think they have a lot of the same types of material that they can use.
I think we had touched on that a little bit when we were doing the Lord of the Rings show, and that how it's kind of split between who can do what, and Amazon can never touch the, I guess, OG story. Is that right?
Yeah, they technically can't do the Silmarillion. Only the stuff that's in the appendices of Lord of the Rings.
The scraps.
Honestly, it is. If you have not read the Silmarillion, people, the Lord of the Rings takes up, I think, a paragraph, maybe a page in a 300-page book. So there's a lot of stuff out there.
And they paid $250 million for that.
Wait, that's it?
Yeah, that's how much the show for the show cost, right? For season 1, wasn't it $250 million?
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
The IP, I think they paid somewhere $2 billion. I think.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was in the billions, which is insane.
So total, we're looking at maybe a $3 billion just for a couple scraps of Lord of the Rings. Man.
Yeah. Crazy. Well, and we saw how that turned out.
Mm-hmm.
Rings of Power was a show. And it's been cool. I've been lightly keeping, a finger on the pulse of all this stuff. It was something that came up that I've seen people talking about, the Lord of the Rings YouTube channels, so some of the more established ones, is that the fact that now New Line Cinema / I believe Warner Brothers is going to be putting out content. It kind of creates competition for Amazon to step up their game. You have these two very different companies that can both make the same type of product. You can't mess up now. If you mess up, nobody's going to watch your stuff and you're going to lose a lot of money.
If I'm Jeff Bezos and Amazon, I think I try to do a Sony Disney thing and see if I can leverage some type of deal in exchange for a percentage of profit, because it's going to be one of these things where if Amazon's isn't as good as Warner Brothers, because Warner Brothers, I don't think they'll remake the Peter Jackson.
I don't think maybe when you and I are
kind of a waste. You know what I mean?
I think when you and I are 60 years old, they'll start production or something.
Yeah, but I think it's still a little bit too unnecessary to do that. So I can definitely see them just kind of doing, the individual stories. Maybe they'll do their take on Gandalf's origin or something, or maybe they'll even do their own version of is it the Second Age?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that would be interesting.
So they could really do whatever they want and make it better. You know what I mean? So it'd be really interesting to see how that shakes out.
Yeah, because in this scenario, and I didn't think about it this way, that you just brought up, Amazon is very much, they have put themselves in the Sony position.
Yeah.
Whereas New Line is definitely in the Disney position, because they have the street cred to prove it that they can actually do this.
Yeah.
Did you know they're making an anime?
Lord of the Rings anime?
Yes.
Oh, it could be cool. It could be really cool. Yeah.
It's about Rohan. So.
Yeah, no, that could be really cool. I'm interested. I'm totally on board. I just, it just needs to be better than what Amazon's first swing was. You know what I mean?
100%. But again, I think this competitive. Wow, I can't speak. Competition part can can really benefit the fans. It's going to push these companies to make something better because if
Yeah,
you have one company that owns it all, like
right.
you might swing and miss.
It's
And
one IP to rule them all.
oh, look
You
at
see what I did
you!
there? You see what I
Look
did
at
there?
you!
Guys, look, I'm one of us now. I did it.
Well, and you know what? That's not always the case. You have Disney.
Yeah, Disney
Um,
and their conglomerate mega giant spew of IPs. You know, I think one of the things that we didn't talk about before on the show is we kind of took a break from doing Marvel stuff because well, there's just too much.
there's a lot of it
There's
out
too
there. Yeah.
much. Yeah, there's just way too much. I think we just took a break because it all felt so similar. You know, it all kind of felt like it merged together a little bit.
No, and I've actually heard other people talk like there are like major creators out there, like Mr. Sunday Movies, Caravan of
Hmm.
Garbage, like those guys.
Hmm.
I was just listening to them a little bit ago, and they were like, "Yeah, like we're gonna cover another Marvel thing."
Yeah,
And you could tell
yeah.
like, they are kind of not too thrilled.
The last thing we did was prior to Black Panther was Moon Knight. You know what I mean? So we haven't done. I don't think we've done another Marvel movie aside from Black Panther 2 in a long time. Um,
Uh,
yeah, so it's just one of those things where we're kind of just burnt out a little bit of the IP, and we'll get into why a little bit later. But this episode, Josh and I, we watched Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. I think that's the whole title. What a tongue twister. And this is. Do you know what number movie this is in the MCU?
Zero idea. I don't even know which Ant-Man movie this is either, and I forgot that was the full title until the end credits. I was like, "Oh yeah, the Wasp as well."
Yeah, this is the third Ant-Man film. The first one, I can't the first one, and we'll talk about why I did totally forgot the whole plot until halfway through this movie, and I'm like, oh my god, that's what the plot was about.
When they reminded you of the
Um,
plot.
yes, when they reminded you of the plot, exactly. So that was an interesting moment. But yeah, I mean, this is like film number 30, whatever. I don't even know the number anymore. But the point is, there's a lot of these movies, and we could sit here and we could review the whole movie, but it's still in theaters. And honestly, if you want to go watch it, go watch it. If I think it's fair to say this is going to be a spoiler conversation because we're just gonna talk about the movie. I mean, hell, the movie's been out almost 3 weeks now, so just go watch it at this point. But yeah, I think instead of doing our usual format, let's kind of break it up and let's kind of break this down to like kind of what we liked about this movie and what we didn't like about this movie. So we'll alternate, Josh. But let's go through some things. What was something that you really liked about this movie?
So it was kind of this double-edged sword, the way that they made this movie, where it's kind of doing its own thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't see Captain America running across the screen. Thor doesn't show up. The Guardians of the Galaxy don't show up. It's very much like self-contained, which I really enjoy. But also it was like setting up stuff for us to all watch for the next 10 years of our lives.
Yeah.
But again, like double-edged sword. But the positive spin on that aspect is that it does feel like it does its own thing, which in the Marvel universe, I really have come to appreciate.
Yeah, I mean that's a super good point because I think so many of the prior movies in Phase Four, because I'm 99% sure this is the first one of Phase Five, as we take this arduous long trek to the mutant storyline. My goodness, can we just finally get an X-Men movie? Anyways, yeah, this is the first one, and I think where this movie differs from some of the other, I guess you could say, other Marvel established movies that we've had, like Thor, for example, is that there was a lot of characters from the, I guess you can say, like the prior movies that had such a big impact and like the big overarching MCU, and we don't really get to see a lot of that with the Ant-Man cast. You know what I mean? Like, they showed up during the Infinity War, but that was it, right? That was basically the extent. So it was nice. It was nice to see all of them. and to piggyback onto that, I think something that I really enjoyed about this movie, by far, the best part of the entire film was Jonathan Majors' portrayal of Kang the Conqueror. This is, we only got like a snapshot of his character from Loki. Did you ever watch Loki?
I did.
Season 1? Okay, yeah. So I thought his character again was the most captivating part of the show, and same thing here. In this movie, I think he did a lot of his purpose in the movie was kind of just to give context to who his character is, and I think this movie really served as that vehicle. I don't know if that's how I would have done it, but that's what they did. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's funny. Like you come out of the gate with that one. 'Cause that was my third thing that I liked about the movie, and definitely my favorite part was Kang. And yeah, Jonathan Majors is a powerhouse, both physically and as an actor. And you don't really see, like, I don't know if you saw those videos of like him training for the film.
Yeah, I did
I mean,
actually. Yeah. Well, he's
and
also training for that and
Creed,
Creed. Yeah. So
yeah,
two
because
birds,
like
one stone.
yeah, because like when you watch this movie, you're like, you don't really get to see like how strong he really is.
Right.
You see a bicep at the end of the movie,
Right. Right.
but I think maybe he was just trying to get into shape to carry this movie. Maybe I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. No.
It's a heavy burden to bear. Um, he has the potential. You saw glimpses of like how intimidating and imposing he can be,
Yeah.
but at the same time, he's very, very charismatic and like
Very
genuine.
charismatic, and I think that's what made it interesting. Right. His character is not. It's so easy for a character like this to be like over the top. Like I think of who's the actor that played the Joker, the Goblin, the Green Goblin in Spider Man. I can't remember his name.
Willem Dafoe.
Thank you, Willem Dafoe. Like I like Willem Dafoe, but sometimes he can be eccentric as the villain. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it may not come off right, even though I think he does a good job as Green Goblin. Um, I think Jonathan Majors did a very good job of like making us understand where his character is coming from, even if we don't agree, even if we don't think it's right. You know what I mean? We at least
yeah.
understand like, oh, he's out for revenge, and that's as simple as that. He's out for revenge.
There are these moments of sincerity in him and like a tenderness. Do you think that it's sincere, or is he like a sociopath, psychopath, where he like knows how to play that?
So it's funny you say that because I don't know if you caught that him and He Who Remains both kind of made the same comment that letting me die only ushers in a greater evil.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I think like all real like bad men in history, like they're coming from their perspective as from a place of like that's the only way I know how to fix it, right? And from his perspective, it's like a dad knowing what harm is behind like the curtain, if that makes any
Hmm.
sense.
Okay.
And so like when he's looking at time, he's basically saying he's like, you don't know what's there, you don't know how bad it gets. He's like, from his perspective, yeah, this is the only way he knows how to fix it. You know what I mean? And he even admits it as much. It's like, that we did something and we didn't take it seriously. We made a mess out of it, and it's up to me. If, in a weird way, he's trying to take responsibility. You know what I mean, for his own mistakes, and I think that's what makes his character interesting. You know what I mean? He's not being evil for the sake of being evil. He's doing it for both revenge, but also redemption in his own eyes, even if we don't agree with it.
Yeah. How much do you know about King as a comic character?
I've learned a lot more,
Okay.
but I don't know the whole bookend because I have a feeling he's going to be a character that's going to be in the MCU for a very, very long time.
Was that a time pun or
No,
something?
it wasn't even a time pun. I just think his character being so infinite makes
Yeah.
it hard for you to actually technically kill him. And there's probably going to be a
Yeah.
point where you can't technically kill him. So
He's basically like if Doctor Who was evil.
right, right.
Like it's very, very much that. Like he's
Or
timeless.
or Rick Sanchez.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, actually. That's a good one. He's like a Rick Sanchez, like without the humor.
Right, without the humor and with a conscience, which I guess you can think about what that means.
Well,
You know what I mean?
maybe. I mean, like, I don't know what version of King we're getting, or if he's being sincere, but like in the latest comics that he's been in, he's very much like a narcissist, where he's like, I am the Lord of Time. Like, it bends to my will,
Hmm.
and like I know what is best, and like my pursuit of power and knowledge like surpasses anything else.
But
So
it's true
I don't
though,
know if we're gonna
right?
get that here or not.
Because I think, well, I don't know, maybe we do, because I think the best and coldest line in the whole movie is when Scott's like, "I'm an Avenger," and he's like, "Have I killed you before?"
Yes,
He's like, "Sorry, you all just blur together." I'm like, "Damn, that's that's pretty menacing." I don't know.
they were almost too subtle, and in my opinion, of like how scary he actually is.
You're right,
Like when what's is it Janet?
Janet. Yes, yeah,
Is that the mom?
that's the mom. Yeah,
Like
played
when
by
she
Michelle
has like
Pfeiffer.
yeah, when she has that
Yeah.
vision, I really wish they would have shown him like actually conquering planets, and not just like going Super Saiyan on like
I have
one
a
battlefield.
well. We'll get into that's one of my dislikes. We'll get
Okay.
into that in a minute. So hang on to that thought. I'll say my my other like. I liked Modoc in this movie. I'm sorry. I literally started busting out laughing in the theater because I
Uh,
totally forgot his character was in the first movie, and I just
yeah.
thought it was hilarious. I know some people didn't like it. I thought it was funny. I don't know. What I don't you tell me what you thought. I thought it was hilarious.
I think they did a good job of not making like taking the character too seriously. I mean, because he's essentially just like a floating head with like little arms and legs attached.
Yes.
And so I think I think they could have taken it a little bit further, like making him like a joke. I mean, he's also very terrifying. Like he's a very like lethal character.
I
But
don't
I
think
did
he's
like the
dead.
fact
I don't think
you
his
what?
character. I don't think his character's dead though.
No, I said deadly.
Oh,
He
I'm
has
sorry. I
killed a
misunderstood.
lot of people.
Yes. Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
very good at it.
Yeah.
Um, and so like they had a pretty good balance between like he's scary, but also like even we don't take him seriously. So
Yeah, and I
yeah,
and
I
and
like
I
that.
I think that's kind of like how that merges together with like why I like this character so much, because I thought it was funny that like I don't okay, the MCU's thing is that like you just have a lot of funny characters, and so I thought it was funny to see this person who's supposed to be menacing, but they're just kind of goofy, and to make it that character from the villain, because I can't remember the actor's name, but he's also in Billions, so he's just this like serious guy, so it's just funny to see him in this light where he's kind of just a goofball. It's just, I don't know. It just makes me laugh. It was funny. I like that.
Yeah, like and it like kind of goes against the whole like tonal humor of the MCU in a way.
Yeah.
The fact that like I don't know, he's a scary guy, like bad guy, but they made him into a joke. I don't know,
Right.
it was a different approach to like
Yeah.
the MCU like funny guy.
I thought it was okay. I laughed. It made me laugh. Again, seeing his face was a shocking reveal, so that was pretty funny.
Oh, and we saw his face, all right, man.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and like obviously we both loved Jonathan Majors as King.
Hmm.
And I'm pretty sure anywhere you hear somebody talk about this movie, that's what you're going to hear.
Hmm.
That he like was the powerhouse of the film, and that's not to detract from like the other cast and crew. Another thing I did enjoy was like Paul Rudd and like the whole Antman family. Like
Hmm.
they had a nice dynamic going. Like you know, it was enjoyable to watch. It wasn't
Yeah.
earth shattering, groundbreaking, but like it was enjoyable.
I another thing I liked was the quantum realm itself. I thought it was really fun to be in the quantum realm. I think it was a nice departure from a lot of the sameness we get out of a lot of the our superhero movies now, where it's Atlanta, it's New York, it's San Francisco, whatever. Like it was cool being in this different universe, and we've learned very little about the quantum realm, but also I thought it was really cool just to be in a different setting.
So it's funny that for you, the quantum realm was something that you liked, because that was actually one of the things I didn't like about the movie. And it's not that I dislike the quantum realm overall. I
Hmm.
just disliked the way it was executed, because it didn't feel like it had enough depth for me. It had so much potential. And I think the issue is like we're in the era of kind of it's almost revolutionary to use practical effects in a film. Whereas, years and years ago, it was revolutionary to use CGI in a movie. And like the quantum realm, it was super cool because it had like a very Star Wars feel to it. Like you go to a bar, there's all these weird creatures roaming around, but like it didn't have the same depth as like
Yeah.
a George Lucas Star Wars alien bar.
Right.
Like it felt like something was missing, and like I really wanted to like the quantum realm, but it was just too much CGI for me. And to like go in a totally different direction. I just watched the last week's episode of The Last of Us,
Yeah.
and in the post episode, you know how they do those post episode little
Post
things.
yeah, little yeah.
One of the actors, she was saying how doing her job was so easy because they had a physical set. Like everything
Was
in
they
the
have a
set
reference. They have
was
a reference.
real.
Yeah.
And she was saying how it made it so much easier to do the job of acting and to like be
Right.
engaged in it. And I feel like you really miss out on that in a movie like this where it's a lot of CGI, because
Mhm.
there's cool visuals, but the whole time I'm thinking like these people are standing in a studio with just like screen all around them, or blue screen or whatever. Like they're not actually reacting to anything. And like I feel bad that like they don't have something to react to, because acting is about reacting and engaging. And to
Well,
me,
it's funny you say that because I think like the VFX is one of the things I didn't like as well. Just the actual visual effects, because what made me laugh was like I feel like I was watching Shark Boy and
yeah,
Lava Girl,
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Like I don't know why. I just thought of that the whole time I was watching the movie, and Modoc didn't help either. So I was like, oh geez, like this is literally like someone's like, yeah, let's take Shark Boy and Lava Girl and let's put this in the MCU. So I agree. Like I think the visuals were had what do they call it, like an uncanny valley like vibe, where it's like my brain is just having a real difficult time like deciphering what I'm viewing here.
Okay, yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? And I don't know. I mean, like
I'm
you
glad you
have,
said that,
yeah. I mean,
because
yeah, yeah.
when I was watching, I was like, "Am I just getting old? Like, I just can't tell what's going on the screen right now."
Yeah, and I think that's a testament to the second thing that I don't like about this film is I'm tired of the cookie cutter Marvel format. Like Disney's unwillingness to break away from set piece, big action set piece, and then that's it. And then the movie's plot itself is only an inch of like a bigger plot. You know what I mean? When you think about like the plot of this movie, it moves the story very slowly. You know, I'm tired of piecemealed stories. I would like a full feature length movie, and I think what makes it, an episode we're never gonna do because the movie is too damn long, is Avatar: Way of the Water. But one thing that I do like about Avatar: Way of the Water is that as long as the movie was, I felt like I got a complete story. Like from start to finish, there is a complete story. Yes, it's part of more of like a bigger franchise, but I didn't feel like I only got a little bit of the story. Does it make sense? Like I got a movie telling its own story from start to finish. It's a weird thing that we have to ask for that in our movies now, but that's where we are. I just didn't feel like that. I don't know about you.
No, I 100% agree. I actually haven't seen the second Avatar movie, and like if anyone else hasn't, my comparison would be the Batman movie. It's a
Mm,
very long movie, but you feel like you're getting a full and enjoyable story. And I agree. Like the plot of this movie didn't feel super consequential.
yeah,
Like I was like, is like I know I've read a little bit of the comics. So I was like, I know what King is capable of. But
right.
to your casual moviegoer, like to me, I'm like, is it really that bad if he escapes? Like I don't. It doesn't feel like it would be such a bad thing.
Yeah, well,
Sure, they tell
they
us.
never
They tell
explain
us.
why, but like
They
no,
tell us, but they
I
don't tell us really
disagree.
tell us why.
Yeah, that I think they tell us that it's bad, but they don't tell us why it's bad. And I think that's the last thing that I just couldn't stand about this movie was the tone. Josh, we are 30 something movies in, 10 TV shows in. Who are you the Venn diagram for people who are going to go to a Marvel movie and know nothing about Marvel Comics, about the MCU? It has to be so narrow that financially it cannot make sense to keep making movies under the paradigm that someone's in the theater watching this and will not understand anything. Like for the first 45 minutes, they kept referencing Kang as him, he, who, like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, we
Right.
saw him in the trailer. We know he's in the movie. What
Yeah.
is the purpose of this? What is the functional purpose of dragging this out for 45 minutes? I was like, holy cow, that's wild, you know?
I totally agree, man. And yeah, like it's that Marvel formula. And like there are people out there who will complain about me or other people complain about the Marvel formula, but it is a thing. And if you don't acknowledge it, like I don't know what to tell you, man. Like
Yeah, I
it
don't know
is
what
a
to say.
thing. It is a thing. I don't enjoy it, and I say that as a fan. Like I want to like these movies. I want to like the stuff that they're putting out. But when it's always this formula, like it is harder for me to engage. The overall story of like they're trying to escape the quantum realm. Also,
Yeah.
like that was another part. I was like, this doesn't feel like it should be that difficult. If Cassie, her name's Cassie, right?
Yes, Cassie.
If
Cassie
she
Lang.
like built this like in their garage, that little machine over however many years by herself, like
Don't get me started on
the
that.
whole family
Don't
are
get me started on
very
that.
very smart people.
Yeah.
Like I feel like they could have figured out a way to get out together. So like again, like that was something that didn't make sense. And then another thing with the family was the helmets.
Oh,
Like
yes.
pet peeve of mine. Pet peeve
Thank
of
you.
mine where every 5 minutes they would like take off their helmets to like talk.
I was
And
like, is
I
this
was
Power Rangers?
yeah. And like the first few times it happened, I was like, time out. I was like, how do you know the air is breathable here?
I
I know
asked
this is
myself
like
the same thing.
sci-fi stuff, but what?
So
Tell me.
yeah, well, not only that, but like going back where you talking about Cassie building this thing. Why does every person in the MCU have to be a STEM genius? Why? 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 It's okay to be normal. It's okay to just be like, yeah, I got C's in math. Like that's fine. Every one of them is a STEM genius.
I know.
This again, reference, tone. Who is this movie for? The 16-year-old girl who, for all we know, right, just spent 5 years during the blimp with like, you know, an impaired education system. You know, I'm sure like most of those years were not focused on making sure kids got a good education, right?
That's a good point.
Coming out of the blip, she's like, hey, guess what? I'm an astrophysicist / chemist, whatever. I'm just gonna build this echolocation radio that can go between dimensions just on a whim. Like, get the F out of here. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. I'm sorry.
A good point. Like,
yeah,
our education system basically collapsed due to COVID. I can't imagine what like basically a mass extinction event would have done to the education system.
Wow. And that's my point. Why does every kid have to be a genius? It's okay for some of these kids to just be normal kids. It's cool. Yeah. It's fine. You know what I mean? Like it's okay for them to just be like, yeah, you know what? Like I'm a delinquent student, whatever. Like they don't all have to be in STEM. That's all I'm trying to say. It's okay. It's okay. There's more normals than there are. I think this is one of the reasons why X-Men is just going to be so just incredible, right? Because I'm hoping it's going to be a breath of fresh air because the stories kind of have to force you to do something different instead of these, you know, I don't want a Gambit movie and then it's like Gambit fighting, I don't know, Kang or something. That'd be weird, right? So
right.
Those X-Men movies have to force you to do something a little bit different. And, you know, I can't wait for those, but okay, so let's get into like we could just talk about like some of the scenes real quick. So like what was your least favorite scene in the movie?
Well, I can't get away from the helmet thing, and I just want to say like Disney owns Marvel, they own Star Wars. They literally made a show where you don't see the main character's face until like the end of the show.
Yeah,
and it's one of their like most successful properties right now. If you can do that, like you can see their eyes. It's not like you can't see their eyes. You could do the Iron Man where you can see their face inside. It's just a small thing, but I can't get away from it.
I think a big source of that is because Ant-Man is not a very like engaging hero. So it's how Disney spins the wheel, right? How can I make toys? well, have him in his suit for 90% of the film. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, it's silly, but everyone's got to have suits. I was half expecting Hank Pym to bust out in a suit at one point.
I thought he was going to as well.
Yeah.
I thought so. Also,
everyone's got a suit.
Also, when he was flying the ship, do you think he actually like had his hands in something? I heard someone else asking this.
So first of all, the ship thing, in the movie they fly a ship and he has to double fist it, which is wild. What a wild ship design. Aesthetically, I don't understand why. Like nothing else in the quantum realm at this point had anything like that. I wonder if there are writers from Rick and Morty who wrote on this movie.
It does have that feel.
It a lot of this movie, that I think about it, has a lot of like random Rick and Morty-esque like things. Like why is that a ship design? Yeah. Also, if you want to get into like nitpicky, like what really pissed me off? When Cassie's like, how do I break open this cell that's in an alien language? And then she smashes the head of one of the King soldiers and it opens it. And then later, all of a sudden, they're just doing a jailbreak. And I'm like, how? How do they know how to do that? Like, you just got here. It's only been 20 minutes. We'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, what was your least favorite? Yeah, you want to do favorite or least favorite?
Let's do least favorite. Let's end on a positive
I want to end on a positive note. Yeah. So let's do least favorite.
Least favorite, the very end where King loses.
Okay, perfect. That was mine.
Because like
that was mine.
Something Marvel has done a really good job of with their compelling villains is you want them to win.
Yeah.
Low key, like Thanos, like he has a point. Killmonger has a point.
Yeah.
Namor has a point. And arguably he's not really the villain, but whatever.
Even King has a point, right? Because the reality is they don't know what they're up against. He knows what they're up against. Like if this is a legion of bloodthirsty, time-shaping warriors, what are you gonna do? Where do you even start? You know what I mean? So he even has a point.
Yeah. So I wanted to win, not because like I'm some like crazy person, sociopath, but because I wanted him to escape the quantum realm and then go out and like hide somewhere and start getting ready for his conquest. And then the heroes going forward in the following films, like they're kind of like with Iron Man, where like they're afraid, they know something's out there and they don't know like when it's gonna go off. That's what I wanted. And the fact that he lost to an ex-con and his wife, who's like the CEO of this company, I was like,
whose powers is to grow small and large, by the way.
Right.
Just want to put that out there.
I'm not hating on Antman and the Wasp. They're fun characters. They have their cool moments. But the fact that they beat King the Conqueror, even for a moment, I was like, no, come on, man.
I'm going to say that this is the equivalent of Black Widow defeating King the Conqueror. Okay. I'm sorry. I just don't think his character, the hero, is very interesting. I don't. I think he's always been one of these like ancillary Avenger characters, to have their own feature film. I was always on board because I'm like, oh, you're gonna make these like a comedy. You've drifted away from like the comedy elements and kind of just lean into just standard movie. And so now I'm just like, well, this is stupid. Like ants. This man died to ants, or theoretically died to ants. Like that's stupid. Like that's really dumb. And like I would be on board if it was like in a funny way. Like, remember like in the Guardians of the Galaxy, like they stopped the what's his name, the adjudicator, whatever that guy was.
Oh, Ronan.
Like, Ronan, yeah, the accuser, yeah, by dancing. How like like random but like funny that was. Like yes. I would have been okay with like if they took like a funnier tone with the ant thing, but it wasn't. It was just like, oh, here's an army of ants, of cyborg future. And again, I swear, I'm gonna look this up when we're done recording. This is like I feel like someone on this writing staff wrote for Rick and Morty. This is a very Rick and Morty-esque like thing really to put in a movie.
Now that I think about it,
there has to be, because that is crazy. That is nuts. And it wasn't even like a cool fight. He just got ripped apart by
Uh,
ants. Ah, man, I don't
well,
know, dude.
and then they like smushed him into the
To the
uh
cube.
yeah, like the quantum realm time space jumper thingy.
Yeah.
Where I was like, oh, the bad guy got sucked into this thing. It's like, come on,
Well,
guys.
well, well. That's why I didn't think he was dead. I was like, they gave
He's
him
not.
a, they gave him
100%
a,
he's
they gave
not.
him a Superman. What's the realm that
Phantom Zone.
the Phantom Zone? Yeah, they gave him the
Yeah.
Phantom Zone treatment and like just bloop, out of existence or whatever. But I just, I didn't like that scene either. I'm totally with you. I felt like that was really stupid. It wasn't interesting. It wasn't even like funny. So I'm just like, what was that? Like, that's it. And then they go back, and that made me say to myself, like, what was the point of like Scott doing this like self-sacrifice thing if they could just bring him back? Like, I thought he was going to be stuck in the quantum realm,
Yeah, same.
and of course, Elon Musk laying over there just boop, 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 and just found the coordinates again. I'm like, get the hell out of here, dude. Come on. Like, Disney, for the love of God, add consequences to your movies. Please. It's okay if Ant-Man lost. That would have been more interesting because he's not like, Thor or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like you mean to tell me in some universe Kang killed Thor but didn't defeat Ant-Man? Like, God, Jesus, dude. This is so dumb. This is so stupid. I'm sorry. It was just so dumb. Okay, so let's lean into like what we liked. Let's be nice. What do we like?
Favorite scenes, right? We're talking about
Yeah.
favorite scenes.
Yeah.
Something else off the top of the dome right now. So like they live happy ever after
Mhm.
is like the route they're kind of going. I will give them credit because then when Scott's walking around doing his go lucky happy thing,
Mhm.
he starts to like have these doubts. He's like, wait, did we do the right thing?
Mhm.
Did we just kill everybody? I was like, okay.
Mhm.
I was like, I like this. Like, you're at least acknowledging like there is some consequence to the good guys, quote unquote, winning.
Okay, but they did the same thing in Doctor Strange.
They did.
Remember, Doctor Strange ended, and it was like his his like ex-wife came.
When
The eye
Clea shows up,
yeah, the eye popped out. So it's like it's not a real consequence if it's ending on like a I can't with these movies sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. So my for real favorite scene, I don't know what this says about me, is when King is just like beating the life out of Scott like into a bloody pulp for several reasons. One, it's like, hey, like this guy is not to be messed with. That was one. Two, Jonathan Majors, you get to see the one bicep. And it's like, yeah,
Yes.
dude, you are yoked. You are terrifying. And three, I really I was hoping Scott was going to get like legit messed up.
Yeah,
Because it adds gravity to the situation. And it's like, yo, he's a good man, but he's not the best of the Avengers. He's got a lot of heart.
Yeah.
And like he loses. He lost. And I thought that's where they're gonna go. That he just gets pulverized. And I wonder if there was like a version and they screen tested it and people were like, oh no, this is too violent. I really wish they would have done that where he just gets annihilated. Like they had to put him in like a full body cast in the hospital. And then Kang disappears with his army and gets ready to conquer our universe.
Well, remember tone, right? What did I say earlier? That like, what is the Venn diagram for the people who have not watched these movies? Like, it's okay to make movies specifically for Marvel fans. Like, that's fine. Like, I promise you probably, if anything, you'll get more people to watch the movie. Okay,
we have money. Like we will pay.
Yeah, we will pay the money to go watch something. We just want something that's interesting, right? And so, like, I agree. I like that scene when they were fighting because it felt leveled, and to some degree, even though not really, because even with raw strength, he's still very much stronger than Scott. And I don't know. I mean, I kind of wish that we would have got maybe more closure out of that scene than what we got, but. My favorite scene in the movie was the scene when Scott went to the core and we got like a little hint at and what I liked about that scene is I think that's supposed to be a hint at how Kang became Kang, because each Scott that was being multiplied was a version of him. And when you think about it, right, at least in my understanding, it's because he's using the power of the core. I think that was supposed to be a hint of how Kang multiplied himself into different realities, because we got the Baskin Robin one. Remember, we got the Baskin Robin Scott. We got like different Scotts,
Okay.
and so I think like what shocked Modoc and Kang was when he was able to all have the same goal and they all work together, because clearly all the Kangs can't do that. So I thought
True.
that,
That's
yeah,
true.
so I thought that was a cool scene. I thought that was a very clever scene. I thought that was done very that was the best scene in the movie in my opinion. Um, but yeah, overall, what are your final thoughts? Like, what do you think? Should people go watch this movie?
If you're an MCU fan, yeah, go watch it. If you have time to kill, go watch it. I mean, obviously, I went to go see it, so I saw some value in at least checking it out. The film, it sets up a lot for the next phase of Marvel, but at the cost of sacrificing its own story. And we've talked about this before, I think, where especially with the MCU, you need to create a story that stands alone on its own. I should like a casual moviegoer should be able to go to see this
Yeah,
and enjoy it for what it was and not for what it's going to set up in the next 15 movies.
yeah,
It's a Marvel movie that does its own thing. um but like it needs to be able to be good at doing its own thing. It can't just like be mediocre. It's a decent movie. It honestly kind of falls flat. I had hoped for more.
Mhm.
But hoping that the next chapter in Marvel, the MCU, does better.
Yeah. I'm just gonna echo a lot what you said. I think the movie is fine. I think that's the problem, right? We have too many of these movies that are just fine. I would hope that Kevin Feige and friends can really sit down and say, does every movie need to serve the does every movie need to be sacrificed for the greater good? And does it need to be part of this big overarching universe? Because I think what was so underwhelming about Phase 4 was that we didn't have anything to build up to. You know what I mean? At least not that we can see. And so it doesn't, now we're leaning into Phase 5 and we have another slew of movies and TV shows, and it doesn't really seem like there's something keeping us together. I think that's what made the first few phases interesting, right? Each Avengers movie kept us engaged in the plot. These phases are missing that. I think the sooner they can roll in the X-Men, and I think that's what the purpose of the quantum stuff is supposed to be, to try to like explain why, because we've gone so long without mutants. So
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's the purpose of these phases, to explain why the X-Men, because I'm sure we'll have many phases of just X-Men movies. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I think I very lightly recommend this movie because it was a good Kang movie, but that's about it. Um, Other than that, don't waste your time. All right,
You heard it
man.
here.
Yeah, let's get out of here. If you liked our show, guys, let us know. You can find us on any social media platform, Twitter, Instagram, um, TikTok, at the Bandwagon Fan Podcast. If you want to listen to our show, you can find us on anywhere you can find your podcast: Stitcher, Apple, Google. I think Amazon has a podcast platform now. Everyone has a podcast platform now. So, Bandwagon Fan Podcast. That's where you can find us. I'm AJ. This is Josh, and we'll see you guys next time. The Bandwagon Fan Podcast is hosted by Josh Jimenez, Alex Mogosa, and me, AJ Soy. Our show is produced by Kate Smith and edited by your boy, AJ. Our social media is managed by Natalia Kokulia, and our theme song, Lush Waves, is provided to us by Taylor Lewin of _audio. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.